This handout is titled Welcome Speech and Vote of Thanks. These two public speeches, one happening at the commencement, the other at the conclusion, they share two features. Now, what is common with these two? The first is brevity. Brevity means no more than 3 minutes. No welcome speech should be more than 3 minutes. No vote of thanks should be more than 3 minutes. 3 minutes is the ultimate. I am asking you to make a note of this, because more so with vote of thanks, because it happens at the end of a long function and people are at the end of their tolerance and patience. So please do not make it very long. Let it be brief to the point. So brevity means 3 minutes, no more. Welcome speech also should not be very long. Listing. List of people to be welcomed. List of people to be thanked. The first thing you have to do whenever you have to give a welcome address or vote of thanks is to make a list of people who you are going to welcome, a list of people whom you are going to thank. It's important. If you don't make a list, you will miss out people. So find out from the organizers. You will perhaps be part of the organizing committee, but make sure that you invite or you welcome all the people who are important, who need to be invited and who need to be welcomed, and also make sure that you thank all these people. So listing and brevity are the two common features. The list should be as brief as possible based on a common list of attendees. Please remember, the welcome speech sets the mood of the function. It's the first thing that happens. So naturally, it will set the trend for what's going to happen later. So it's important that you do the welcome speech first and do it well. Start with the objectives of the meet. Welcome people on the days. People on the days, if they are seated there, please welcome them. They are important people. Please address them by name and welcome them. Then those in the front rows and others down the hall. Group them as much as possible. In large meetings, it is better to welcome groups like special invitees, guest speakers, parents, and so on. It is monotonous if I have to welcome one person by saying, I extend a warm welcome to you. For the second person, you say, I extend a cordial welcome to you. The third person, you say, I extend a hearty welcome. After that, you don't know what to do. Are you going to go back to warm, cordial, hearty, warm, cordial, hearty? You are stuck for words. I am now going to give you 40 different ways in which you can welcome. I am not talking of bombastic words. I am using ordinary, simple words, but it will have an impact so that you don't have to repeat these words. So the handout that will come to you now will give you a range of expressions which you can use for welcoming as well as for vote of thanks. On one side, you will find expressions which you can use for welcoming. On the other side, you will find a range of expressions which you can use for vote of thanks. Because often we are stuck. We don't have the right words to use. So this will give you an idea how you can use these words in such a way that it becomes interesting. On one side, you will see different ways in which these are not words which are not understandable. They are not bombastic words, simple words, but conveying as much feeling as the often overused words. You can not use the overused words. You can choose words which are not so frequently used so that it suddenly wakes up people. What is he saying? So use expressions which are not overused. On the side which has welcome speech, look at, I'll discuss that first, some of the expressions on the welcome speech side. Look at that. I'll come back to the vote of thanks later. You may use most of these expressions depending on the situation. But it's important that you select the appropriate word. There was a man who decided to use the word massive welcome, and he went for a function and he found only 7 people were there. And when he said massive welcome, it was not quite appropriate. Make sure that you use words which are appropriate. A man was giving the welcome speech, it was the Mahila Samaj. And that man said, I extend an open-armed, embracing welcome. Now, though he didn't have any malified intentions, the expression open-armed, embracing welcome was not quite appropriate in the context that he was the only man and everybody else belonged to the Mahila Samaj. So, when you choose, be careful what you choose. Or if you use the word fraternal, if you are addressing Mahila Samaj, it won't be appropriate to say a fraternal welcome to you. Fraternal is more in the sense of masculine expression. So you will have to be careful. Otherwise, most of these expressions can be used more or less interchangeably. Having said that, welcome, when you give, please separate the floral welcome and the oral welcome. What do I mean by saying separate the floral welcome from the oral welcome? When you have to give bouquets and when you have to give many bouquets and there are several people seated there, if you have to give a bouquet at every point when you are announcing that person's name or mentioning that person's name, your welcome speech is going to be interrupted several times. You will have to pause, then you will have to wait for the bouquet to be given. Very often the bouquet will go to the wrong person, then you will have a problem. So, separate the oral from the floral means, if several people are to receive bouquets, please do the bouquet giving in one shot. Please say that the following people will now be offered a floral welcome and let it be given. After that, you give the oral welcome. Otherwise, your oral presentation will be interrupted, continuity will not be there, and the impact will also not be there. If it is just one person whom you are giving the bouquet, it's fine. You can stop, wait for the bouquet to be given, and continue. But if several people are to be given, please separate the oral from the floral. Go back to the previous page, which looks at welcome speech and vote of thanks. The previous page I gave you, which has the title Welcome Speech and Vote of Thanks. Vote of thanks, this should be briefer than the welcome speech. As I mentioned to you, it happens at the end of your function. So people look at you as an obstacle before dinner, before entertainment. You are the one standing. And the longer you take, the more impatient they will become. So make sure you express your gratitude. This is important too, because vote of thanks is an expression of our gratitude, genuine, heartfelt gratitude to the people who have contributed. It is necessary to express this gratitude. People have come, important people have come, you have to express. So please do that directly, genuinely, from the heart. This is generally done by a senior person, an organizing secretary or somebody equivalent who has organized that entire event. So expression becomes very sincere and from the heart. So this is important, but do it briefly and directly. The order of thanking should be in the same sequence as in the welcome speech. Make a brief attempt to respond to a plea, promise or greeting made by the chief guest. If the chief guest has given you an assurance, if the chief guest has made a promise, please acknowledge that. It will be an opportunity to reinforce what he or she has said and also to thank that person for that assurance or for that commitment. So vote of thanks person must be alert to what the chief guest has said and also acknowledge with gratitude for that assurance or commitment. Very often a chief guest may make an announcement or some commitment. So it's always nice to acknowledge that. Here also you can use a variety of expressions which you can see on the reverse of the other page. Different ways in which you can express your gratitude. Instead of usually saying thank thank you very much, thank you from the bottom of my heart, thank you on behalf of myself, on behalf of my other half and my all other halves. You sometimes overdo this. So it is not necessary for us to use those same expressions. One thing you should not do when you give the vote of thanks is to say, thank you all for making this a grand success. You yourself have declared, you are the organizer, you yourself have declared it's a grand success. It is not for you to declare that. We often say that, thank you all for making it a grand success. Grandness is not decided by you, the organizer. Let the people who attended it decide. So all that you can say is, thank you all for being here, or thank you all for participating in the event, thank you all for your patience, all that you can say, but don't say thank you all for making it a grand success. Grandness is not to be declared by you. Let it be decided by the people who have attended. So this is something that you should keep in mind. Last but not least, we often say, so often, nothing is wrong with it, but unfortunately that word is so overused. Last but not least. We can avoid those. You can use some of the expressions which I have given you in the bank of expressions that are available for a vote of thanks. If you have that, at least it will be a little different from the usual vote of thanks. Otherwise, it becomes very monotonous. Once there was a function, a long function, which went, instead of it being 1 hour, it was almost 2.5 hours. The chief guest went on and on and on, and everybody had so much to wait for because so many other things had to be decided. I had to give the vote of thanks. I realized even 3 minutes is too much. All that I said was, my attitude today is one of gratitude, the magnitude of which is infinitude and plenitude. That's all I said. And I walked out. People thought something is wrong. I said, this is all that I wanted to say. My attitude today is one of gratitude, the magnitude of which is infinitude and plenitude. That's all. Because there was a situation where nobody was in a position to listen to a vote of thanks. Even 3 minutes was too much. So be aware of the constraints of time, particularly if you're giving the vote of thanks. Have some concern for the people who are listening, especially if this event has already gone on well beyond. Anything specific on welcome address or vote of thanks before I go on to introduction of a chief guest? Anything specific that you may have? Any question, any clarification? These are general guidelines. Don't take them very rigidly. This is the platform on which you will be able to give a speech. Don't take these as rigid rules. When the time comes, you may make some modification, but it's important that at least you know the basics. And then, of course, you can make changes. You can innovate as and when necessary. A simple thing like, for example, salutation. It is customary for us to start with salutation. Today, many speakers start off the speech, after 3 or 4 sentences, they will start addressing the people. They will say something, get your attention, and then they'll say so and so, so and so. So what I'm trying to say is some of these things can be used as variations. You can innovate once you get the confidence. Please.
Address. See, we are welcoming the dignitaries sitting on the dais. Now, I would like to get a clarification from you. Whether, I should repeat those words, I welcome so-and-so, I welcome so-and-so. Then finally I say, I also welcome.
Yeah.
Whether it is okay.
Unfortunately, we don't have too many words to replace welcome. What we can do is the words before and after. Warmly welcome. That the word welcome, greet, we can say, recognize, you can say that way. But we will be welcoming people Individuals have to be welcomed individually because they are important people. Others can be grouped, and we'll be welcoming. The word welcome, unfortunately, we don't have too many replacements, and we have to convey that welcome with warmth. So all that we can do is different words, different expressions we can use, but the feeling must be there. So some amount of repetitiveness in that is inevitable. Yeah. It's okay. Good morning, one and all. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to each and every one of you. All that, it's fine. It's fine. It's just a beginning. What you're doing is you are getting to get a feel of the audience. Some people do things which are not necessary. That is called, this is what we call harumph. Harumph means clearing the throat. We overdo it, and in between we say, let us avoid this. When you give a public speech, let us not do this harumphing. Harumphing. Harumphing is this clearing the throat is an indication that you are thinking. Let us not do this. Some people overdo it. It's a punctuation for the speech. In between will come. So we will avoid that, but other things are acceptable.
And so there's one more. We begin with the sentence, firstly, I call upon. So is that the word appropriate telling firstly?
Firstly is okay. That means there will be something secondly. That is the only thing. In public speeches, especially when you say first, second, third, fourth, it is little difficult for people to keep track. It's not like giving a lecture when you say first point, second point, third point, fourth point, which you write down. In public speaking, it's always better you say additionally, moreover, to top it all. You use expressions which don't indicate numbering. In public speech, it is better to use words like moreover, additionally, things like that. These are some words which you can keep with you so that you don't have to say firstly, secondly. After some time, people will wonder what was second when you have said something fifth. So that risk is there. So you can avoid if necessary. But again, these are not absolute, things that you should avoid or anything like that. These are just suggestions. Look at whatever I have given you as merely suggestions on the basis of which you will prepare your speech. Don't take them as very rigid rules.